Hi, everybody. It's Heath Davis Havlick. Glad to see you again, and I'm really glad to kick off my new YouTube series, cleverly called Enneagram Book Reviews. And I'm really excited about that because I have been studying and learning about and applying the Enneagram for more than 15 years. I've read a ton of books. I'm a Riso Hudson certified Enneagram teacher, and I'm an author as well. So I'm just here to give you my opinions on the value of these books. And again, they're just my opinions. You can take them or leave them. And in fact, I welcome your comments down below after you see this so you can tell me whether you agree or not and why, and let's have a conversation. I'm going to be looking at new books because there's a ton of Enneagram books coming out right now. It's a very exciting time to be studying the Enneagram. And I'm going to be looking at old favorites as well, and maybe even some old ones that aren't such favorites. So that's what this series is going to be about. And let's start with the first one, which is the Brain-Based Enneagram by Dr. Jerome. First of all, this is a beautiful book, right? The cover is beautiful. All throughout it, there are all these sorts of wonderful illustrations that you'll see. There's all kinds of color. Let me find a good picture. Hold on here. There's one. All different kinds of circles, because that's what this book is about. It's about unity and being whole. So it's a hardback, and it's a good sturdy reference that you'll want to sort of come back to again and again. All right, I actually interviewed Dr. Jerome a little while ago, and I'm hoping eventually to do a blog post, but right now I'm focusing on sort of a different series right now on my blog, so I'm going to use this to kick off my Enneagram book review series right here on YouTube. So one of the things that he says right at the beginning, so good, let me get over to it. We are innately capable of wholeness. This is not about being less broken. It's about becoming more whole. And I love that because there's a tendency, and even in some of the Enneagram books that I've read, even that are older, the tendency is to look at what the deficiencies are and what the things are that are wrong with you and how to fix them. But really what Dr. Jerome is getting at is this idea that we already have wholeness, and it's a process of bringing it out as we discover it. Then on the next page, he says, the whole identity profile is not intended to provide answers, but to ask better questions. So his whole thing is this whole identity profile, and he refers to it throughout the entire book because, again, he's talking about you having all 9 Enneagram types inside you. In fact, the subtitle of this book is You Are Not a Number, meaning you are all of the numbers. So what I really love the most about this book is that he talks about neuroscience. You know, until now, there has just not been very much information or input from the scientific community about the Enneagram. And he does such a good job of very accessibly talking about the different parts of the brain and how they're related and how they help form our personality. And so if you look closely, you'll see that the Enneagram symbol is actually upside down, that types 8, 9, and 1 are actually at the base, which corresponds better to the actual way that the brain is set in our heads, right? The 8, 9, 1 instinctual center is back here at the bottom, the base of the brain, and then the left and the right hemispheres deal with the other 2 centers of intelligence. So I'm going to talk about those in just a sec. But that is such a cool idea that it's upside down. And when I was talking to him in the interview, he said, you know, when I first looked at that Enneagram symbol, I thought, wait a minute, it's upside down. Because when you look at the traditional symbol, right, at the top is the instinctual center, the gut center, 8, 9, 1. And he said, who do you know whose gut is above their head? No, the gut is below. And also, again, as I was saying, it corresponds to our brain structure. So let's go over and look at how he talks about brain structure. So he talks about the brain stem first, And the brainstem correlates, again, with that instinctual center, right? The 891 on the Enneagram, the gut center. And that it's the first part of our brain. It's the oldest part of the human brain. And that makes sense, right? Because you have to have instincts in order to survive. So then we move on to the right and left hemispheres. Okay, the right hemisphere corresponds with the heart triad. So right over here, right, we got the 2, 3s, and 4s, the feeling center of intelligence. And then over on the left hemisphere, we've got the head triad, the 5s, 6s, and 7s, the thinking center. Okay, and that's the last part of the human brain to form in an evolutionary sense. And I could make a joke about the head types being the most highly evolved humans, since I'm one of them, but I will not do that because that would defeat the whole purpose of this book, which is to talk about the wholeness and how you're not a number. You're all of the numbers. And so I'm going to read to you now something from page 29 where he talks about the brain-based Enneagram. He says, until now, there has been no brain-based model of the Enneagram, and he's exactly right. To our enormous advantage, observing the Enneagram through the lens of neuroscience expands and integrates the traditional model to provide a way for even greater personal, relational, and global wellness. And I love that so much because as you learn more and more about the Enneagram, you understand that it's not just about you. Yes, it does need to be about you because you only have, control over you and you want to live as your truest self. But then as you live as your truest self more and more, the people around you can change. And as the people around you can change, the culture can change. So it is a more global sort of transformation that takes place. And that's really exciting. That's what I'm all about, actually. So that's one of the reasons, again, that I love this book. So he talks about how that we're not just one number, but that we are most efficient in one of those numbers, and that our brain pathways actually get formed into patterns such that that's why we think we're one number. But we have all of the numbers, and it's possible actually to recircuit the brain, if that's a way that you can say it, so that you create greater efficiencies for each one of the different types. So this is one of the just coolest pages in the whole book. It is this layout. And in it, he talks about how to interpret your RETI score. So RETI is RHETI. That's the Riso-Hudson Enneagram Type Indicator. It's a test that you can take online from the Enneagram Institute. I'll put a link below the video so that you can go and take that if you want. It's a paid test. I think it's $12. Believe me, if you haven't taken an Enneagram test, or even if you have, it's going to be, some of the best money you've ever spent, because the test is validated and it's super accurate, and it gives you a ton of information about your type after the fact. So, after you take the test and get the results. So if you haven't taken the RETI, you can still use this chart, which is super cool, because you have to have the numbers to fill in, so that you can fill them in here and see where your efficiencies are greatest and where you could bolster them most. And that is by using this book, ding ding, The Wisdom of the Enneagram by Riso and Hudson. It's one of the best, I think it's the best Enneagram book that there is, but I'm a little bit biased. And I don't get paid to say that. I just love this book so much. I'm going through it for, I think, the 3rd time with my Enneagram group that meets once a month. And it's just invaluable. It's wonderful. It really is the gold standard as far as I'm concerned. Again, just my opinion, but check it out for yourself. So what you can do is go through every one of the type chapters, and there is a little test that you can take, right? And you rank yourself on each one of these questions of how true they are. And then you flip to another page and it tells you what your score means. So, if you score 0 to 15, you're probably not this type. And if you score more than that, then maybe this is the type of your wing, and on and on. So you take that score, you do it for all 9 types, you take those scores and you plug them in right here. I'm really looking forward to doing this. I haven't done it yet, I confess, but I'm excited to, because it gives you very detailed instructions about how to fill in this chart, right, on these pages that follow. And that's really cool. So the point of this is, again, to move toward wholeness, to move toward the whole identity, and find ways to really sort of create new neural pathways that help you live in a fuller way on the earth, and really to be able to embrace the gifts of every one of the types. All right, what else can we talk about here? All right, so then he gives a basic overview of the different action steps that you can take for each one of the types. He gives just a very, like I said, it's a basic overview, because if you will notice when you look at this cover, it says Volume 1. I talked with him and I said, okay, well, this is a nice introduction, but it really leaves me wanting more. Is there going to be a Volume 2? He said, yes, it's coming out next year. And I believe what he said was that this is Volume 1 of 12. So this is a long-term project for him. And he said to me, if I put out the whole thing in one book, it would be like, 1,000 pages, and it would just lose everyone. So this is more of a foundational book. It lays the groundwork for the further books that are coming. But I, for one, am very excited. I'm in this for the long haul as well, and I'll buy every one of these because I'm very excited about what he's trying to do here. In fact, that's why I wanted to kick off the series with this book. It's because this is the kind of Enneagram book that I've been waiting for. I started learning the Enneagram when I had never heard of it before, and no one I knew had ever heard of it. And in fact, a friend of mine used to say, how's that mind control thing going? Because he just had no frame of reference for what this thing even was. So again, I read the books that existed at the time, which were not many, and then, read everyone I could find after that. But those books all had to start out, again, foundationally with, this is what a type 1 is like, this is what a type 2 is like, this is what the gut center is like, etc. All necessary stuff. But once you get past that, there's so much more. Oh my goodness, there are implications in just every area of life. And I really was looking forward to seeing more sort of, science-based, brain neurology-based stuff come out that could really help describe and explain what's going on in the human brain. And this is one of them. And there are other new and cool ways that people are using the Enneagram to talk about doing life that I'm looking forward to reading in the very near future. I just ordered one today, as a matter of fact. So I recommend this book. I think it's awesome. I put a link to it down below in the comments area. And I also put a link to Dr. Jerome's YouTube channel. He has a bunch of videos about this book. Really looking forward to digging into all of those. And let me know, what you want to see. Let me know if there's a book that you haven't read yet, but that you're looking forward to. Let me know if there's or that you just want to find out, from somebody if they think it's any good. Let me know if there's a book that you particularly like and would like me to give a review about. If you've written an Enneagram book, let me know and send me a copy, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I just want to find out from you what it is that you want. I've got a whole shelf full of Enneagram books, I'm not even kidding, that I am planning to go through. But also, there's a bunch of new ones coming out as well. So Let me know what you want to do. If you want to see more of these videos on Enneagram book reviews, I'd love it if you just go ahead and subscribe down below. I haven't done much with my channel in a long time, but now I'm finally starting to be a bit more consistent. And so you probably already know this too, but if you click the little bell next to subscribe, you'll get a notification every time I post a new video. And I'm sure it won't be more than about once a week, so I'm not going to inundate your inbox. So yeah, please give me some recommendations, and I look forward to seeing you next time. All right, have a great day. Bye.